These are hard drives and SSDs, and as a photographer, content creator, or creative, I fill these up pretty quickly. A couple weeks ago, I actually ran into this issue where I couldn't even film a YouTube video because I ran out of storage on my computer and all of my drives. I was at the store and I was just about to pick up another one of these Samsung T7s, and I thought to myself, there has to be another way to store tons of files without using 10 to 20 different drives. What I really wanted was one hard drive that can house everything. I hated that I had some projects scattered everywhere. Some projects were stored on this drive and some other on this drive and some other on this drive. But most importantly, what I wanted was to have access to these files when I was away from the studio without having to carry all of these. Now, I did a lot of research to find solutions that could possibly work, and one thing I was looking into was cloud storage. I looked into services like Google Drive, Dropbox, BackBlaze, their B2 storage, not their backup service, and all of these were pretty expensive, and that's because they weren't made for the average person to store terabytes of data. If you're in the same situation as me looking into cloud storage as a solution, let me give you a little rundown of how expensive it can get over the long term. To store 8 terabytes of data, it would cost $480 per year using BackBlaze, which is the cheapest, by the way. $480 doesn't sound too bad considering an 8 terabyte drive can cost anywhere from $200 to $300 to $400. But here's a kicker. With any of these cloud services, you have to pay that $480 every single year as an upkeep cost to keep your data stored on the cloud. Then you have issues like slow upload and download speeds. Oh, and almost every single service requires you to pay a fee to download any data back from the cloud. Something like Google Drive is ideally what I wanted, and I thought to myself, I wonder if there's any way I can create my own type of Google Drive server, a place where I can store terabytes of data, I can access it anywhere in the world, and I don't have to pay a yearly upkeep cost. I did a little bit of research, found exactly my solution, ordered it, and a few days later, I got it. This is a Synology DS920 Plus. For those who don't know what that is, it's a NAS server. A NAS stands for Network Attached Storage. But what does that mean? Well, a NAS isn't connected to your computer. It's connected into your network, and it allows users of that network to access its data from a centralized location, which means you can have this thing in your basement, and as long as you're connected to the same network, you can access it from anywhere in your house without connecting to your computer. But not only can you access this storage locally, you can also access this storage remotely from anywhere in the world because it is connected to a network. So last week when I went back to my hometown for my nonu's funeral, I was filming my family going through all of these old photos of my grandpa, and these were memories that I didn't want to lose. I wanted to make sure the videos were safe and backed up to the NAS rather than leaving them on the card for 7 days. So I connected to the NAS using Synology's Quick Connect feature and uploaded those videos to the NAS 1,200 kilometers away. This is just one of the many features you can do with a setup like this. Depending on what hard drives you use, you also have the ability to set up a RAID structure. This is great if you want to have redundancy and backups in case one drive fails. I personally don't have mine set up as a RAID structure, and instead I have all the data from my NAS being backed up to BackBlaze for $7 a month. Another really cool thing that you can do is create multiple users to access your NAS. Limit what they have access to and allocate space for them if they want to use any of the storage. My parents have a ton of old flash drives like this one here, full of old photos and memories, and they never ever look at the photos on these because it's just such a hassle. So what I ended up doing was I created an account for them. I created a folder that they can upload their photos to, and I allocated 100 gigabytes of space for them to use. They took all the photos and uploaded them to that folder, and now they can access those photos or those memories anytime using Synology's app. A NAS can be used for a million things, but for me, All I wanted was a ton of storage and to be able to access that storage from anywhere in the world. And the NAS does exactly that. Using Synology's Quick Connect feature, Drive app, or even connecting it through a VPN, I can access the NAS from anywhere in the world and download or upload files. This is great for when I'm on a trip and I want to back up all those photos so I don't lose them, or if I'm editing a YouTube video remotely somewhere and I want to access files from a previous video that are on my NAS. Okay, if you're in the same boat as me and you're looking for ways to store tons of data and you're thinking about going the route that I took, you're gonna buy a NAS, you're gonna fill it up with the drives, and all your issues are fixed. I think that's great, but here's some things that you should consider before buying a NAS. The first one being that even though I said that this is like my own Google Drive server, I can access it from anywhere in the world and it acts like cloud service, it's not cloud service. It's a physical storage system with drives that if by chance anything happens, like God forbid your house burns down, all that data is lost.
It's like burnt to ashes.
This is why I would suggest to also back up all that data to a cloud service. The second being accessibility depends on your network. If you're on a trip somewhere and you want to access your NAS, maybe upload files to it or anything like that, but your home network is down for whatever reason, you won't be able to access the NAS. And again, that's because it's not a cloud service. And lastly, if you're thinking about buying one of these to set up a RAID structure, you need at least a minimum of 2 drives, depending on which RAID setup you choose. With that being said, there's so many models to choose from. Which one do you choose? Let me tell you why I went with the DS920 Plus. At first, I was planning on buying the DS418, which is one of the cheapest NASs you can buy from Synology. But after doing some research, I didn't really like how I couldn't upgrade anything if I wanted to. With the DS920 Plus, if I want more drive bays in the future, I can purchase the DX517, which is an expansion unit to add 5 extra bays, giving me a total of 9 bays to my current NAS. I also have the option to add a DDR4 RAM stick to give me a total of 8 gigabytes of RAM as opposed to the 2 gigabytes non-upgradable RAM on the DS14 model. 2 gigabytes of RAM may have been enough, but when something is this expensive and non-upgradable, I want to make sure that I future-proof. That way it doesn't become a paperweight in the future. The DS920 Plus also has 2 NVMe SSD drive slots. These NVMe SSDs borrow frequently or recently used data from the HDD and cache it. That data will then run off the NVMe SSDs as opposed to the HDDs, which means higher read and write performance. The other model, the DS418, doesn't have the option to add these NVMe SSDs, so because of upgradability, I went with the DS920 Plus. And that's basically it. That's my solution to all my storage issues. If you enjoyed this video or you found it useful, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure to leave a comment if you have any questions, and hit that subscribe button if you want to see more content like this, and I'll see you in the next one.